Before we get started, fellas, I've got two things I want to say. If you want to follow along with this build, don't forget to subscribe. And a huge thanks to Hampson Auctions for sponsoring my channel and helping me bring you videos. Hampson Auctions are a UK-based company, and they auction like cool cars and bikes, like stuff I'm interested in. It's not like your everyday boring kind of daily stuff. I'll leave a link to their social media below. Check it out. Anyway, let's go and see Paul.
Hi fellas, welcome back. I'm down Paul's, Mr. RS500. He's got a bit of a rare car in for Paul, just a Cosworth. Unfortunately, I'm sure you can see from the pictures, it's had a bit of an accident. So what happened, Paul?
Well, we restored this car for the guy who owns it. He's had it from brand new. And about 4 years ago now, time flies, and it probably 4 or 5 years ago, we did an underbonnet restoration on it and a bit of paintwork exterior, just to freshen it up a bit for him, really. And it was over at Moon when he got it back, but because it was so nice, he didn't use it that much anymore. Anyway, he ended up leaving it, stood for a couple of years, never used it at all. And anyway, he decided to get it out, get it MOT'd and back on the road. Took it around block just to make sure everything was working, and fuel pressure regulator started leaking. And of course, when the leak, it drops fuel straight onto the distributor.
Just went up.
She just went up.
Poor fella.
Unfortunately, he was left with this, and by the time fire brigade got there, obviously it was well ablaze, and unfortunately, you'll see.
God, I'd imagine just standing at the side of the road watching your car burn.
It'd be horrifying, isn't it, really, when you think about it. Now what you can do.
Nah.
I mean, he was clever enough, and he never lifted the bonnet.
Is that one of the worst things you can do, is it?
Yeah,
the bonnet?
it drags more air in, doesn't it?
So
And fire needs air, so he left the bonnet down. Because when you think, I think he said it was like 10 minutes before fire brigade got there.
Was it?
A fair while. So I mean, imagine the state of it if he'd have lifted. But well, it'd have probably just completely burnt the car out. Luckily, from like the dash forward has taken the brunt of it, but the rest of the car is all right. It saved it by leaving the bonnet shut. I mean, obviously, if you've got a proper big fire extinguisher and you can use it, then lift bonnet and put it out. But he was clever enough to leave it down so it didn't spread.
It's a good job you said that. I would have lifted the bonnet. I might start hitting it with my t-shirt or something.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing is, you take that risk, don't you? Because you could lift bonnet and it could just be a real small fire,
and you could pull it out.
You might get it out. But you take that risk that if you lift it and it's fair going and you can't put it out, all oxygen jumps in and boom, that's it, they go.
So what are you going to do with it? What's the plans? Just strip it back?
Yeah, take engine out, strip it completely, take dashboard out, and then everything forward. It looks horrendous, doesn't it, with all this melted plastic and everything melted, but by the time you take all this off, the structure of the car, all the inner wings are solid and straight. The wings look bad because it's melted paint off, but them wings will survive. The bonnet's knackered because the heat's distorted the bonnet, so that's scrap. Unfortunately, bumpers had it because that's got a bit warm. That wheel arch trimmer's had it. But yeah, we'll take engine out and then we're going to get it sandblasted, the whole car, from the bulkhead forward to get rid of all this gunk and sandblast it, and then we'll prime it straight away to stop it corroding again. And then obviously rebuild the engine and take the whole loom out of the car. So we'll have to take the whole interior out, everything, because the whole loom will have to come out because all the car loom's obviously melted. Put another loom in it, a brand new engine loom.
Where do you get the looms from? Because you can't get an original one now, can you?
No, I would never use one anyway, really. We'll just get one of the brand new braided looms. We'll put one of them in on the engine part of it, but the car loom we'll just have to use a second-hand one because you can't get a new one anymore. He'll go again. Oh yeah, he'll repair. The guy that owns it just said, whatever it costs,
just fix it.
He's had it from new, and unfortunately his insurance won't pay out because obviously he was driving it without any MOT on it.
Aye.
So they've just said they won't pay, so he's just said to me, just fix it whatever it costs.
God, I couldn't imagine just standing there watching your car burn, mind.
It's worse thing, innit, fire?
Aye.
Because, damage,
take everything, doesn't it?
You can repair anything, really, no matter how bad it is. If you've got, if the car's worth fixing, you can fix anything, but fire destroys everything, doesn't it? It's even melted the original VIN tags, look. That's completely gone.
Oh, it's aluminium, isn't there?
Yeah, so it's melted that, but luckily I've spoken to Ford. I have a good friend of mine who works for Ford, and I spoke to him, Simon, and he told me the process I can go through to get an original Ford VIN tag back for it.
All right.
So
cool.
we can get one of them back on the car. So yeah, it'll fix. You know, this looks horrendous, doesn't it? But by the time it's sandblasted and all the melted bits are taken off it and it's stripped, it's a bit like when we did the Black 500. It looked horrendous, didn't it, when it was all bent and damaged? But by the time you take the worst bits off, they never look as bad.
Once it's all like primed and cleaned up. How do you get all the melted plastic off? Will the shop blast take that?
Sandblast will just take everything. It'll just take it right back to bare metal.
The original Ford water bottle.
Yeah, I don't think it'll hold a lot of water now though. Really. There's this spring off the cap. But yeah, if you actually, it's difficult in here because it's a bit dark. But you know, we tried to work out what we thought had caused the fire. But you can see the back half of the inner wing under there, and the chassis wheel has still got all its paint on. And all this chassis wheel's still got its paint on. You can sort of see, you know, like look at the turbo there, looks almost perfect. You can sort of see the fire, the heat of it has been here, which is right where the fuel pressure regulator
leaking. Mine was leaking the other day. I just caught it. I seen a little puddle on the floor.
Yeah.
So I just sniffed it because I was like, the car's not wet. I was like, oh shit, that's petrol. I better find out where that's coming from.
So the trouble with these cars, they're 30-odd year old, aren't they now, Adam? And these fuel pressure regulators, they have a diaphragm in them. And when the diaphragm splits, you see, well, you can see that metal ring there that's left that hasn't melted. The top and the bottom of the fuel pressure regulator are aluminium, and they're held together with this metal ring here. And when the diaphragm splits, it seeps out between that two pieces of aluminium. It drops out underneath, and it drops straight onto the distributor. And of course the spark in there ignites the fuel. So if you've got an old Cosy, it's always worth
keeping an eye on it.
Yeah, check fuel pressure, check all your fuel lines and that, because you know they perish, don't they?
It's probably worth replacing just for peace of mind, really.
Well, you never know, do you? I mean, I always carry a fire extinguisher with me.
I've got one in my car, but it's about 15 year old now. Probably couldn't put anything out.
I think it's if you remember my RS 500 set on fire at Croft years ago when I had it on track. That set on fire.
The wood black one?
Yeah, the black
split rims
one.
On.
That's right, yeah, that fired. And what that had done, the clutch cable runs past the alternator and down under the car. Well, it had moved, and the clutch cable was rubbing on the back of the alternator. And it had rubbed through the plastic coating on the cable, and then the cable had touched, the metal part of the cable had touched the back of the alternator, and of course it made it glow, got hot, you know, because of the voltage. It glowed the metal, and it melted the clutch cable, and the clutch cable got that hot, it set fire to all the sound deadening in the back of the bulkhead.
Did it?
Where the heat travelled up the cable, both ends. It set fire to all sound deadening. But luckily I'd changed all the fuel lines on that car to braided. I'd done away with all the original plastic lines and put braided lines on it. If that had had the original plastic lines,
could have melted and
because all the back of the bulkhead was on fire, and we looking to put it out with a small fire extinguisher that I had in the car.
Did it do much damage?
No, nothing. All it did was the clutch cable, the sound deadening had burnt that a little bit. I mean, obviously when we got it back it looked horrendous because the whole car had been put out. Bike marshals had put it out with big fire extinguishers, so it was just like white powder everywhere. So I just steam cleaned it off with steamer when I got home. Obviously worked out then what had gone wrong. The alternator, the clutch cable had like welded itself to alternator, so it yanked it off back at alternator, put a new terminal on back at alternator, put a new clutch cable on, changed the sound deadening pad. That was it, stuck straight up. I was very lucky, very lucky. But as I say, if I hadn't have had the braided fuel lines on, that car would have been like this at best.
Lost it.
Definitely.
Maybe.
But luckily I had a mate of mine on passenger ride with me in car. He remembered I'd got a fire extinguisher in car. I didn't. I'm panicking, you know, like you do, running around like an idiot, panicking, shouting at marshals to come over, and he went, "You've got a fire extinguisher in car." So it was enough for me to put the worst of it out, you know, because it wasn't horrendous, but it was like just flames licking up the back. So I put it out, and by the time then, marshals had come over with big uns and proper give it a dousing. And then they came with recovery truck, took it round into pits. When we got it back into pits, it was set on fire again.
Had it?
Yeah, because that sound deadening smoulders, doesn't it?
Right.
So it'd been smouldering all the time we were getting towed down track. By the time we get back in pits, some lad shouts, "It's still on fire underneath." Looked underneath and flames were, starting again. So we'd got a lot of water this time and chucked it on, you know, to stop it smouldering.
Put it out properly.
Yeah, and put it out, and we were all right. But
I look forward to. So what's the plans for now, Paul? When you're going to start stripping it, do you think?
Finish the the 500.
Richards.
Richards 500 first. Get that done and get that back to Richard. And then this will be next job. Get it on ramp, engine. Well, we're basically just going to undo suspension, cross member, everything, and drop the whole engine and gearbox and everything out in one go. Take everything out of it and then strip the take the engine to bits, strip the engine. I think it'll be all right, to be fair, because the heat is up here. So obviously it seals and everything in cylinder head will be gone. So we'll just strip the head completely, rebuild it, check it that it hasn't warped it. So we'll check that the head's still straight. If not, give it a light skim. Rebuild engine and then start gathering up, which we've started already, finding all bits and pieces, you know, to put it back together, because we need absolutely everything, as you can see. But I've got a lot of it already. I've got a lot in stock as well, so.
Cool. Look forward to seeing it.
Yeah, it'll be a fair project, but
Aye.
be a good one. This will be a good transformation, won't it, looking at it like that and then seeing it finished.
Right, cheers for watching, fellas. Thanks for having us down, Paul.
No, you're welcome.
Like I say, fellas, we'll keep an eye on this. It might take a while, like Paul says. He's got Richards RS 500 to finish first, then this is next for the next few time.
I would think this will probably be start of sort of Christmas break that we'll put it on ramp and start it. But yeah, keep updates coming on it as we go.
I'll leave Paul's social media links below. You've got 2 Facebook pages, Paul.
Yeah, I've got my own, Paul Linfoot Racing, and the RS 500 owners page.
Alright. Thanks for watching, fellas. I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers, Paul.
Cool.